Do we know what happened then? There were issues. Though we were at 12 Sigma, we had encountered an issue. And the issue was so serious that these pilots would have not been able to come back to Earth. And the project is called a successful failure. You know why that happened? That happened because they did not follow best practice, they followed their common sense. The oxygen level in the cockpit was going down. The electricity battery was going down. They had so many issues. What they did is they made use of their common sense to identify the components that is there existing, making room for how to reduce the consumption of oxygen, how to reduce the consumption of electricity, so that gives them more time to travel back to Earth. Right? So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to move your organization forward, don't rely on best practices, but think beyond best practice. Beyond best practice is your people. You invest in your people. You get your people to think about how to use this best practice. Unless a knowledge used, it's useless. A fool with a tool is still a fool. I would just like to replace a tool with the knowledge. A fool with knowledge is still, if he doesn't know how to use it, is still a fool. That's all is my debate on why best practices not help the organization to move forward. Thank you.
I will add a few more thoughts from my side. So one of my colleagues from South Africa used to say that everybody in the world thinks similar, the world is going to be boring because everybody accepts everybody else, so there is no debate and there is no conclusion. So in my view, again, in learning to what everybody does the same thing, again, I'm still standing on the point saying that to some extent we'll go into the group. So I'll again pick up one example which is very specific to Tesco. I don't want to bring this up. So Tesco, as you know, is a capital center. Compared to services companies, we do something different. So one example is we do have something called fine collection process. What happens is in Tesco, a lot of these truck drivers, they drive throughout UK. They go to depots and they go to stores and all those things. So one of the things which they do is whenever there is a driving violation, they need to pay the fine. So the fine paying process was moved to India. So what does that mean? As soon as there is a fine, the finance department would send a scanned copy to India. These guys just need to pay back to the drivers. It's not government of UK. So suppose if a typical, if I say best practices, it's directly the 100% SLA adherence, you get 100 fines today, and then by the due date you need to pay. That's what probably a typical services company does. But what we did was something different. So yes, we achieved that particular thing. We adhered to the SLA. But beyond that, when we investigated, we found that we can question the fines. What does that mean? If I get 100 fines, probably 30 fines or 20 fines, probably they are not authentic. People would have done mistakes. So when we go back to the police department of UK, we can contest it using the lawyers or whatever. So we were able to reduce close to 20% of the fines there. And second one, what we did was, again, here we still adhere to the SLA according to the best practice or whatever. Second one, what we did was we also created monthly reports saying that who are the drivers committing most mistakes and where they are committing, why they are committing, what is the timing, and then what is the route and all those things. Again, we pass back that information to the drivers, saying that if you do this, probably you will reduce the things. And with that, believe me, we reduced another 10% of the fines. So total, we were able to reduce close to 30% of the things. It was actually saved us close to 1.4 million pounds in a year. So that is a great achievement. So why I gave this example is traditionally, if you follow the best practice of adding to the SLA and then making sure that the fines are paid on time, probably would have not thought beyond that. So there is something, the uniqueness that we need to give to our stakeholders. In my view, that is only possible for able to, yes, as you said, I'm not denying the fact that there are best practices, we need to follow them, but there is a point where we need to break the best practices and then do something different. So that's where I would like to stop here, and then I'll probably talk to Nirita and more opportunities after this.
Right. I will go over to Paul's discussion later on, but I would first like to counter Ravi's discussion saying I don't find the example that he gave very relevant because I consider you mistaking doing something innovative as entirely against best practices. Best practices do not tell you to not change anything in the existing process. They totally give you room for it. Again, I think Paul also mentioned the same thing. If these are the best practices, how are you going to enhance them? Best practices do not tell you that you cannot make any changes in us and you cannot enhance us further. What they do is lay out the foundation. Now, you mentioned that you redid the entire SLA process and then you were able to enhance your or save some revenue, right? What I would like to say to that is I like the example, but I still don't think it's very relevant in this particular case because one of the best practices in IT I think was plan and check at the whole cycle in itself tells you that you need to innovate, you need to consider the current the way the things are running, make changes in it, and then go on and enhance it, and then so that is one of the best practices. So you just followed that and made some SLAs, and so I don't think you actually spoke for me. So again, now coming over to your example, you said that I cannot follow a best practice in a way that will help me. If I just follow something that may not be relevant to me, it's of no use to me. Every industry needs to be smart enough to be able to take just the best practices that are tailor-made for it. There are service industries. There are there are solution industries. There are even in services you get testing, you get development, you get deployment, and all these different sectors. Now you can possibly apply a best practice that applies to a testing industry to a development industry. These guys are meant to harass these guys and vice versa. So each and every organization, each and every industry has its own best practices, and that is what they follow. And that is what always I keep saying this over and over again. They lay the foundation, and that is what helps the company move forward. As in, you at least have a basis to do all your entire speculations and calculations on. So after you've laid down your groundwork, you've laid a solid foundation, then you can go ahead, move forward, have innovations, and again the best practices do allow room for innovations and have a smart way to make things working and have enhancements, and then move this set of best practices over to the next one, saying that here you go, this is your next set of best practices, go on and do something more and maybe go on and innovate and move on.
Probably one more thing I want to add to which just in my mind, I'm sure some of you may agree, some of you may not agree. So in my view, Tendulkar is known for best practices. He knows every shot in the book, but very rarely he was able to, again if you look at the data, very rarely he was able to give that winning kind of when it comes to World Cup, people always attribute Dhoni's successful leadership rather than Tendulkar's contribution. So in my view, as I said, Tendulkar has been playing the game for some time. As I said, he knows every ball how to play and whatever. But when it comes to winning the game, so but Dhoni was able to make a difference. So there is I just wanted to get one more point there. One more one more thing when it comes to best practices. Suppose if you go to McDonald's, I'm sure a lot of you will have gone there. Their practices are universal. If you go to any shop in McDonald's, they just follow whatever it is. But it doesn't mean that they are the best in the world. So, give an example. Suppose you can experiment maybe. So, you buy a Coke and then you also buy a burger and then you take the Coke pack and you burger pack and then drink off of the Coke and then drink off of the burger, mix this burger into the Coke. Go back to the counter and say that boss, you by mistake had put the burger in the Coke. The person is so mechanical, you'll just say that in the book it says that if customer comes with a complaint, just go on and refund the money. And so you just go on and refund the money. You can experiment it. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, best practices are important, but at the same time, we need to bring some common sense. We need to look at the relevance. We need to see where the industry is going. Depending on that, we can apply.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. I would quickly like to say something. You had mentioned this as well, that the Apollo, I'm sorry, I forgot the exact Apollo 13 project they survived due to the common sense. Now, and you said the same thing that, unless the Maggie's receptionist guy has this common sense, he'll just go ahead and mechanically refund the money. I want to say something here. The common sense helped those Apollo 13 guys survive. Common sense didn't build the rocket. It was the best practices. It was the 12 Sigma that helped them build the rocket. That helped lay down all the possible techniques they needed to check. I feel it still had some flaws, which is why it did go ahead and fail in the end. And then the common sense helped them survive. It didn't really help them move forward. There is no company that will go on common sense. That's a very strong statement to make. But still, you need to have some best practices. It's a something. These best practices is something that the experts in each industry have jotted down based on their life's work and their entire experiences, and we learn from their failures, and then we go on and then how use their best practices, and then of course tailor-make them.
Yeah, not too many points I have now because it's very simple. I would like to say, best practice helped them to take off. Common sense helped them to land safely. Landing is important than takeoff because we are talking about life here. The second point I would like to make is I see that Sakshi is contradicting very well to the points here, and I also see that Sakshi is saying that the best practice is basically a foundation, a baseline. That's what even I am saying. Best practice is just a baseline and a foundation. You need to build, and building is when you think beyond best practice. So just a foundation is not enough. You need to build the building. What I would like to hear is, how will best practice help you to move forward? I know best practice is giving you a foundation, but how is it helping you to move forward? And what we are also saying is, yes, best practices do not help you to move forward. It is just a foundation. So if I have to argue on points, I need to know the points which is actually helping the best practice or the organization by adopting a best practice and to move forward. Thanks.
I'll add one more thing on the common sense. In my view, knowledge without common sense is nonsense. So there is no meaning in having the knowledge without knowing where to apply. A lot of examples you would see, right? Suppose if you go to any hospital, I mean, recently my wife delivered a baby girl when I went to Yeshwanthi Hospital. Right. First thing is they want to fill a big form. Yes, they have best practice. They need to they have a checklist or whatever, and then so I had to spend in the tense moments almost 10 minutes to fill the form, which I felt it's pathetic. So yes, we need to use the things, but I think there is a winning moment, and if at all we want to give the differentiation to the stakeholders and the customers, we need to, there would be a place where we need to break through from the best practice and do something else to satisfy stakeholders. That's what which is important. So I do agree with Sakshi on saying that again, Paul also agreed, saying that yes, in order for us to land a program or land a project to the extent where it is going to run on its own, best practices are surely important, but in order for us to move ahead and then move ahead in the value chain or the kind of experience, the kind of value that we are going to create to the stakeholders, surely we need to break away from the best practices, do something else which none of the other organizations in the world actually attempt to do it. I think probably if you get time, I wanted you to look at a book called Delivering Happiness by Tony. It is a nice book, how they are able to break through from some of the so-called best practices in the world when it comes to online delivery and whatever, how they are able to make the industry within 10 years $1 billion company. I think it's a great achievement in my view. They were able to only achieve, yes, they would have had best practices initially, how to get the funding and how to get the people. There are best practices, but beyond that, they do want to bring happiness to the customers. And even in Tesco, we have two values which we really talk about. Whatever we do, the two values that we wanted to focus, which is we call it as no one tries hard for customer. Other than we, nobody else in the world should try harder for our customers. Second one is treat the people the way we would like to be treated. So these two values, yes, we do have the best practices, but at the same time, when the opportunity comes, when there is something which is breaking, so forget about the best practices, do whatever it takes you to make your customers happy. That's all. There are a lot of